We shall continue our discussion with the topic of ancillary incidental powers. This is the third principle that you use for interpretation of lists. And now, it is well settled that the power to legislate on a topic of legislation carries with it power to legislate on all ancillary matters which can said to be reasonably included in the power given. Thus, for example, power to legislate with respect to land includes power to legislate with respect to mortgages of the land as subsidiary subject. The power to make laws on a subject includes the power to pass a valid law retroprospectively as well as prospectively. ये मैं आपको कई बार बता चुका हूँ. So, let us take the example of tax. The power to levy tax would include the power to enact provisions to tax evasions, tax remissions, either prospectively or retroprospectively. Now, let us take one case for example. This is R.D. Joshi versus Ajit Mills, AIR 1977, Supreme Court, page number 2279. In this case, the Supreme Court held that the punitive measures for enforcing social legislations are part of auxiliary powers. मतलब किसी सोशल लेजिस्लेशन को इन्फोर्स करने के लिए अगर प्यूनिटिव मेजर्स हैं जैसे इम्प्रिजनमेंट या फाइन्स, ये एक्सिलरी पावर्स का ही पार्ट है. सुप्रीम कोर्ट फर्दर हेल्ड इन दिस केस दैट द एंट्रीज इन लिस्ट मस्ट बी गिवन वाइड मीनिंग implying all auxiliary and incidental powers. The question was in this case whether it was permissible for the state legislature to enact that sums collected by dealers by the way of sales tax, which was prohibited by the sales law, would be forfeited to the state punitively under entry 54 read with entry 64 of the list 2. Supreme Court held that it was a punitive measure to enforce the act. Penal sanctions for enforcing fiscal legislation for protecting public interest is the part of auxiliary powers. Now keep in mind that the expression incidental and auxiliary powers means the powers which are required to be exercised for proper and effective exercise of the legislative powers expressly conferred. However, the doctrine can be invoked only in the aid of the main topic of legislation, while the heads of legislation in various lists of the 7th schedule are to be interpreted widely so as to take in all matters which are of incidental character to the topic mentioned therein, but there must be a head or entry to cover the legislation. ठीक है, तो इस बात का ध्यान रखिएगा. Let us move on to the next case. This is United Provinces versus Atika Begum, AIR 1941, Federal Court, page number 16. In this case, the leaser sued the lessee for certain arrears of rent, while the latter pleaded for the remission of rent had been ordered by the local government. The plaintiff contended that these remissions were beyond the power of legislature of the United Province. Supreme Court held that it is elementary cardinal rule of interpretation that the word used in Constitution which confers legislative powers must receive liberal construction, and if they are the words of wide amplitude, they must be interpreted so as to give effect to that amplitude. A general word used in an entry must be construed to extend to all auxiliary or subsidiary matters which can fairly and reasonably be held to be included in it. Supreme Court observed that it would be practically impossible to define each item in the list in such a way as to make it exclusively of every other item in that list. मतलब सुप्रीम कोर्ट कह रहा है कि जो लिस्ट में जो आइटम्स हैं उनको प्रैक्टिकल वे में डिफाइन करना इम्पॉसिबल है कि उसके अंदर वो पूरा एम्बेड बता दें कि ये चीज़ें उसके अंदर होंगी और बाकी चीज़ें अंदर नहीं होंगी. दैट इज़ वाई सुप्रीम कोर्ट रिजॉर्ट्स टू द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ एक्सिलरी और इंसिडेंटल पावर्स, जिसमें कहता है कि अगर कोई एंट्री है, कोई टॉपिक ऑफ लेजिस्लेशन है, तो उससे रिलेटेड जितनी भी सहायक चीज़ें हैं जो एक्सिलरी और इंसिडेंटल मैटर हैं वो भी उसी के अंदर कवर होंगे. तो उसी सेंस में सुप्रीम कोर्ट कह रहा है कि इट वुड बी प्रैक्टिकली इम्पॉसिबल टू डिफाइन ईच आइटम इन द लिस्ट इन सच अ वे as to make it exclusively of every other item in that list. And the parliament seems to have been content to take a number of comprehensive categories and to describe each of them by a word of broad and general import. For example, categories such as education, local government, land, etc., explained by the examples or illustration. The word collection of rent includes provision about the abatement or enhancement of rent, to fix installments of rent and method of collection etc., and also remission of rent. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट बता रहा था कि मान लीजिए एंट्री है कलेक्शन ऑफ रेंट, ठीक है, अब इसके अंदर रेमिशन भी आएगा ऑफ रेंट, अबेटमेंट ऑफ रेंट, एनहेंसमेंट ऑफ रेंट, क्योंकि मेन चीज क्या है वहाँ पे, रेंट है, ठीक है, कलेक्शन ऑफ रेंट इज द मेन थिंग. तो उसके सहायक मैटर्स क्या हैं, उसके सहायक मैटर्स हैं या एक्सिलरी मैटर्स हैं, योर अबेटमेंट ऑफ रेंट, एनहेंसमेंट ऑफ रेंट, फिक्सिंग द टाइम ऑफ इंस्टॉलमेंट ऑफ रेंट, मेथड ऑफ कलेक्शन, प्रोसीजर ऑफ कलेक्शन, and your remission of rent etc. would all be covered within that entry. तो यहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ये emphasize किया कि एंट्रीज को आप सिलोज में इंटरप्रेट नहीं करेंगे, ठीक है, आप उनको एक ब्रॉड इंटरप्रिटेशन देंगे, और ब्रॉड इंटरप्रिटेशन देते वक्त आपको इस बात का ध्यान रखना है कि जितने भी एक्सिलरी मैटर्स हैं और जितने भी सब्सिडरी मैटर्स हैं वो उसी के अंदर कवर्ड होते हैं, ठीक है. तो वहीं पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट आगे बढ़ता है और कहता है कि इफ द प्रोविंशियल लेजिस्लेचर कैन लेजिस्लेट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द कलेक्शन ऑफ रेंट, it must also have the power to legislate with respect to any limitation on the power of a landlord to collect rents. That is to say, with respect to remissions of rent as well as their collection. Item 22 of the provincial list is forest. Thus, could it reasonably be argued that the power to legislate with respect to forest didn't include power to legislate with respect to only afforestation but also to deforestation? तो वहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट एक फिलोसॉफिकल डिस्कशन में चला जाता है. पॉइंट इज, क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट आप अक्सर गौर करेंगे, इट जस्ट गोज ऑफ द टेंजेंट एंड स्टार्ट्स टॉकिंग अबाउट मच मोर फिलोसॉफिकल एस्पेक्ट्स कि मान लीजिए ये एंट्री है, फिर उसमें ये वाली चीज़ें हो सकती हैं, तो क्या ऐसा आर्ग्यूमेंट हो सकता है या ऐसा आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं हो सकता. पॉइंट मेन आपको क्या इस केस से गैदर करना है, इस केस से मेन आपको पॉइंट गैदर ये करना है कि अ जनरल वर्ड यूज इन एन एंट्री must be construed to extend to all auxiliary or subsidiary matters which can fairly and reasonably be held to be included in it. ठीक है, ये मेन पॉइंट आपको इससे गैदर करना है. ये इतना elaborate discussion is for the purpose of explanation, but while writing, let us suppose you write United Provinces versus Atiqa Begum, you will only emphasize the principle that was held in it. What was the principle that was held in it? That a general word used in entry must be construed to extend to all auxiliary or subsidiary matters which can fairly and reasonably be held to be included in it. अब हम आ जाते हैं एक दूसरे बहुत बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट डिस्कशन में, दैट इज पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस रूल. Now this doctrine is applied when the legislative competence of the legislature with regard to a particular enactment is challenged. When a law dealing with a subject in one list is touching upon subject in another list. In such a case, what has to be ascertained is the pith and substance of the enactment, that is the true object of the legislation and its scope and effect. कभी कभी ये हो जाता है कि मान लीजिए जो मैटर एक लिस्ट में है, लेट अस सपोज स्टेट लिस्ट में, ठीक है, अब स्टेट ने कोई लॉ एनैक्ट किया विच समहाउ क्रॉसेस ओवर द डोमेन ऑफ द यूनियन, हल्की सी ओवरलैपिंग है. इन सब्सटेंस वो मैटर स्टेट लिस्ट में है, पर थोड़ा बहुत उसके कुछ मैटर्स ऐसे हैं जो उन एंट्री से डील कर रहे हैं विच इज विद इन द यूनियन लिस्ट. तो ऐसे में कोर्ट किस रूल को रिजॉर्ट करता है, और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट रूल है, इसी में सवाल आएगा मेनली, वो है पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस रूल. कि पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस में, इन सब्सटेंस जो इनैक्टमेंट है उसका ट्रू ऑब्जेक्ट क्या है, ठीक है, और उससे वो पता करता है कि ओके, इवन दो सम ऑफ द एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ द लेजिस्लेशन आर टचिंग अपॉन द मैटर विच इज फॉरबिडन टू द स्टेट, or vice versa, let us suppose parliament is enacting a law and it is encroaching into the state domain, वो state list में जा रहा है, तो ऐसे में सुप्रीम कोर्ट पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस के रूल को यूज करते हुए बोलेगा कि अगर सब्सटेंस में enactment जो है it belongs to the jurisdiction of the particular legislature, then in such a case incidental encroachment इज नॉट प्रोहिबिटेड बाय द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. ठीक है, याद रखिएगा फेडरल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में कट एंड ड्राइड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ पावर्स रेयरली पॉसिबल होता है, कभी कभी थोड़ी ओवरलैपिंग होती है. तो उस ओवरलैपिंग को डील करने के लिए, ये जानने के लिए कि सब्सटेंस में जो लेजिस्लेशन है वो किस लिस्ट को बिलोंग करता है, वो किसके डोमेन में है. तो अगर मान लीजिए स्टेट लिस्ट के कुछ ऐसे मैटर्स हैं, स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर लेजिस्लेट कर रहा है, अब उसने तो एक एंट्री में लेजिस्लेट किया, लेकिन उस एंट्रीज में कई ऐसे सब्जेक्ट इंक्लूड कर दिए जो कि लेजिस्लेशन में कई ऐसे सब्जेक्ट इंक्लूड कर दिए जो कि यूनियन लिस्ट के कुछ मैटर से एस्पेक्ट से डील करते हैं. तो वो जो इंसिडेंटल इंक्रोचमेंट है, क्योंकि वो इंसिडेंटल है, इट वुड बी क्योर्ड बाय पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस रूल. ठीक है, वो इंसिडेंटल इंक्रोचमेंट वुड बी क्योर्ड बाय पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस रूल. ऐसे कई लेजिस्लेशंस को बचाया जा सकता है. ठीक है, और सुप्रीम कोर्ट इस रूल को रिजॉर्ट करता है इन ऑर्डर टू सेव द लेजिस्लेशन रादर देन टू डिस्ट्रॉय इट. ठीक है, so let us deal with a few case laws. We will start with Kerala State Education Board versus Indian Aluminium Company Limited, 1976, volume number 1, Supreme Court cases, page number 466. Now it was held that for deciding under which entry a particular legislation falls, the theory of pith and substance has been evolved by the courts. If in pith and substance a legislation falls within one list or the other, but some portion of the subject matter of that legislation incidentally trenches upon and might come to fall under another list, the act as a whole would be valid notwithstanding such incidental trenching. ठीक है, trenching, sorry, notwithstanding such incidental trenching. Now, constitutionality of a law is to be judged by its real subject matter and not by its incidental effect on another's field. If on examination it is found that the legislation is in substance one on a matter assigned to the legislature which is within its competence, then it must be held valid in its entirety, even though it may touch upon some matters which are beyond its competence. An incidental encroachment is not prohibited. The doctrine of pith and substance requires that in such a case of encroachment, the law should be read as a whole and not as a collection of sections or clauses for determining the true nature and the character of the law. That is its pith and substance, कि law का pith and substance क्या है. दूसरा एक केस और बताता हूँ, वो है A.S. कृष्णा वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ मद्रास, AIR 1947, सुप्रीम कोर्ट, पेज नंबर 297. The justification for pith and substance rule is that in a federal constitution, clear-cut distinction between the powers of the union and state legislature is not possible. There is bound to be overlapping. In all such cases, it is but reasonable to ask what in whole is the object or purpose of the law. The different provisions of enactment may be so closely intertwined that blind adherence to a strictly verbal interpretation would result in large number of statutes being declared invalid because the legislature enacting them may appear to have legislated in a forbidden sphere. That is the area which is not within its competence. ठीक है, अब इस पे एक और लोकस क्लासिकस आपको बताता हूँ. आई होप यहाँ तक आपको समझ में आ रहा होगा. आई डोंट थिंक एनीथिंग इज टू कॉम्प्लेक्स हियर. सो यहाँ पे क्वीन वर्सेस बूरा का जजमेंट है, 1878, वॉल्यूम नंबर 3, अपील केसेस, पेज नंबर 889. यहाँ पे लॉर्ड सेलबॉर्न ने प्रिंसिपल बताया था और ये बोला था कि it must be held as settled that the legislatures in our country possess plenary powers of legislation. This is so even after the division of the legislative power. Subject to this, that the supremacy of the legislature is confined to the topics mentioned as entries in the list, conferring respectively the powers on them. These entries, it has been ruled on many occasions, though meant to be mutually exclusive, are sometimes not really so. They occasionally overlap and are to be regarded as enumeratio simplex of broad categories. Where in an organic instrument such enumerated powers of legislation exist and there is a conflict between rival lists, it is necessary to determine and examine the impugned legislation in its pith and substance and only if that pith and substance falls substantially within the entry or entries conferring legislative power, it is held that the legislation is valid. A slight transgression upon a rival list notwithstanding. ठीक है. अगेन एक बात याद रखिएगा, मैं फिर रिइटरेट कर रहा हूँ, मैं हर लेक्चर में रिइटरेट करता हूँ लेजिस्लेटिव रिलेशन के, पर मैं फिर भी रिइटरेट कर रहा हूँ. एंट्रीज टू द लेजिस्लेटिव लिस्ट आर नॉट सोर्सेज ऑफ लेजिस्लेटिव पावर. ये टॉपिक या फील्ड्स ऑफ लेजिस्लेशन है. ठीक है, वो सोर्स नहीं है, वो फील्ड्स ऑफ लेजिस्लेशन है. हेंस दे मस्ट बी अकॉर्डेड लिबरल कंस्ट्रक्शन. ठीक है, और उसको नैरो या पेंडेंटिक सेंस में उसको इंटरप्रेट नहीं करना चाहिए. सोर्स ऑफ लेजिस्लेशन कहाँ से आएगा? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के आर्टिकल से आपको ट्रेस करना होगा. ठीक है. Remember one more thing in context of this discussion, that courts also assume that if legislature is to have full scope to exercise its powers, it is necessary to assume that the constitution does not prevent a legislature from dealing with the matter which may incidentally affect the matter in other list. ठीक है. अब मैं एक और केस पे आता हूँ, दैट इज करतार सिंह वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ पंजाब. केस लॉ से मत डरिएगा, केस लॉस का बस कॉन्टेक्स्ट ये है कि मुझे आपको प्रिंसिपल समझाना है. प्रिंसिपल पे मेन ध्यान दीजिए. केस लॉ याद रहे ना रहे इररिलेवेंट. एक केस लॉ पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस पे बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है, वो है क्या नाम है उसका, प्रफुल्ल कुमार वर्सेस बैंक ऑफ कॉमर्स खोलना. प्राइवी काउंसिल का जजमेंट है, इफ आई रिमेंबर करेक्टली, तो वो थोड़ा डिस्कस करना ज़रूरी है. वो नाम भी याद रखना ज़रूरी है क्योंकि लोकस क्लासिकस है. पर अभी जितने केस बता रहा हूँ इसे प्रिंसिपल समझने के लिए. कमिंग बैक टू द पॉइंट, करतार सिंह वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ पंजाब 1994 वॉल्यूम 3 सुप्रीम कोर्ट केसेस, पेज नंबर 569. It was said that when a regulatory legislative measure is enacted by a legislature on a subject within its competence requiring a person to obtain a license for doing certain business concerned, which subject and imposes certain restrictions upon a person to make him conduct the business concerned for which he is granted the license lawfully, it could be regarded as a legislative provision which is auxiliary to the main subject of the regulation. When once the subject of regulation is found within the pith and substance of the concerned legislature's competence, a slight transgression is not invalid. ठीक है. दूसरे केस का एग्जाम्पल देता हूँ, ये काफ़ी फेमस भी हुआ था. इस्माइल फारूकी वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडियन, AIR 1995 सुप्रीम कोर्ट, पेज नंबर 605. Here the constitutional validity of the acquisition of certain areas at Ayodhya Act 1993 was challenged. The act provided for acquisition by the central government about 67 acres of land in Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid complex to be made available to the two trusts proposed to be set up for the construction of a Ram temple and a mosque and for planned development of the area. It was contended that the purpose of acquisition in the case did not bring the act within the ambit of entry 42 list 3, that is acquisition and requisition of the property, but was referable to entry 1 of list 2, that is public order, and therefore the Union Parliament did not have the competence to enact the impugned act. Supreme Court held that the pith and substance of the legislation was acquisition of property and not related to public order, and therefore the act was valid. इस केस में भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस का रूल यूज़ करते हुए बोला था कि अगर मान भी लें कि भाई पब्लिक ऑर्डर को मैनेज करने के लिए यूनियन पार्लियामेंट ने लेजिस्लेट की है ये एक्ट, इवन देन इट इज़ नॉट वायलेटिंग द रूल ऑफ पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस, क्योंकि इंसिडेंटल एंक्रोचमेंट इज नॉट प्रोहिबिटेड बाय द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. ठीक है. लेट अस कम ऑन द नेक्स्ट केस लॉ, that is Praful Kumar versus Bank of Commerce Khulna, AIR 1947 Privy Council, page number 60. In this case, the validity of Bengal Money Lenders Act, which limited the amount and rate of interest recoverable by a money lender on any loan, was challenged on the ground that it was ultra vires the Bengal legislature insofar as it related to promissory notes, which was a central subject. Entry 21 list 2, that is the state list, money lending and money lenders was within the state list, and entry 28 list 1, which dealt with checks, bills of exchange, promissory notes, that belonged to the union list. The respondents in this case said that while it is true that they are money lenders, yet they are engaged in banking and are holders of promissory notes, matters which are solely within the federal jurisdiction, and a provincial act such as Bengal Money Lenders Act is ultra vires as it deals with a federal matter. The appellant said that the power to make laws with respect to money lending necessarily imports the power to affect the lender's rights against the borrower upon a promissory note given in the course of money lending. Privy Council held that the pith and substance of the act being money lending, a state subject, and it was valid even though it trenched incidentally on promissory notes. To take a promissory note as a security for loan is a common practice of money lenders, and if the legislature can't limit the liability of a borrower in respect of a promissory note given by him, it can't in any real sense deal with money lending. All the lenders would have to do in order to oust the jurisdiction would be to continue his normal practice of taking security of a promissory note, and he would then be free from the restriction imposed by the provincial legislature. In truth, however, the substance is money lending and the promissory note is but an instrument for securing loan. Now here, the case law of Subramaniam Shettiar versus Muthuswamy Goundan was quoted by the Privy Council, in which judgment Chief Justice Sir Maurice Gower held that it must inevitably happen from time to time that legislations, though purporting to deal with a subject in one list, touches also upon a subject in another list, and the different provisions of an enactment may be so closely intertwined that blind adherence to a strict verbal interpretation would result in large number of statutes being declared invalid, because the legislature enacting them may appear to have legislated in a forbidden sphere. Hence the rule, which has been evolved by the Judicial Committee, whereby the impugned statute is examined to ascertain its pith and substance or its true nature and character for the purpose of determining whether legislation with respect to the matter is in that list or not. Now, following principles were deductible from the decision in this case, Prabhul Kumar versus Bank of Commerce Khulna. First is, a clear-cut distinction is not possible between the legislative powers of the union and state legislatures because they are bound to overlap. To uphold the validity of the impugned act, the question to be asked is that what is the pith and substance of the impugned act? In ascertaining this, one must consider A, the object of the act, B, the scope of the act, and C, the effect of the act as a whole. After having ascertained the true nature of the law, court must point out in which of the three lists an act of that nature truly falls. The second principle was that the extent of invasion by the legislature in other list is an important matter, not for determining the validity of the law, but for determining pith and substance of the impugned act. Its provisions may advance so far into the federal territory as to show that its true nature is not concerned with the provincial matters, but the question is not has it trespassed more or less, but is the trespass, whatever it may be, is such as to show that pith and substance of the impugned act is not money lending but promissory notes or banking. Once the question is determined, the act falls on one or the other side of the line and can be seen as valid or invalid according to its true content. कि मतलब सच में नेचर क्या है उस लॉ का, उस बेसिस पे डिटरमाइन करेंगे. मनी लेंडिंग स्टेट लिस्ट में है, पर बैंक और प्रॉमिसरी नोट और बैंकिंग यूनियन लिस्ट में है. तो कोर्ट को तो देखना है कि मेन एसेंस क्या है लॉ का. हो सकता है इंसिडेंटल इंक्रोचमेंट है, प्रॉमिसरी नोट से डील कर रही थी मनी लेंडिंग एक्ट, तो कंटेंशन क्या था कि प्रॉमिसरी नोट से डील कर रही है प्रोविंशियल गवर्नमेंट ऑफ बंगाल, तो वो तो अलाउड नहीं क्योंकि वो तो यूनियन का मैटर है, वो फेडरल लेजिस्लेचर का मैटर है, तो प्रोविंशियल लेजिस्लेचर उस पर कैसे लेजिस्लेट कर सकती है. तो बेसिकली कोर्ट ने बोला कि हमें ट्रुथ में ये देखना है कि नेचर क्या है, नेचर मनी लेंडिंग को कंट्रोल करना है. तो अगर स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर का जो लॉ है वो पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस में उसी की लिस्ट में फॉल कर रहा है और इंसिडेंटल इंक्रोचमेंट है प्रॉमिसरी नोट्स पे या चेक्स पे फॉर एग्जांपल अगर होता है, तो बस केस में प्रॉमिसरी नोट मेन था, तो वो अलाउड है. इंसिडेंटल इंसिडेंटल इंक्रोचमेंट अगर होता है दैट इज नॉट प्रोहिबिटेड, क्योंकि पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस में द लॉ स्टिल बिलोंग्स टू द डोमेन ऑफ द स्टेट या प्रोविंशियल लेजिस्लेचर एज इन दिस केस. थर्ड, वेयर three lists are in conflict, very important. List 1 has the priority over list 2 and 3, and list 3 has a priority over list 2. तो हायरार्की कैसे बनाएंगे? लिस्ट 1, लिस्ट 3 और फिर लिस्ट 2. मैं फिर रिटरेट करता हूं, वेयर लिस्ट आर इन कंफ्लिक्ट, लिस्ट में आपस में कंफ्लिक्ट है एंट्रीज में, तो लिस्ट 1 को प्रायोरिटी मिलेगी लिस्ट 2 और 3 दोनों के ऊपर, ठीक है, और लिस्ट 3 को प्रायोरिटी मिलेगी लिस्ट 2 के ऊपर. जब डिस्प्यूट ये है कि मैटर कंकरेंट लिस्ट में है या स्टेट लिस्ट में है, तो किसको प्रायोरिटी मिलेगी? लिस्ट 3 को प्रायोरिटी मिलेगी ओवर लिस्ट 2. सो लिस्ट 1 हैज सुप्रीमेसी ओवर लिस्ट 2 and 3, and list 3 can claim superiority over list 2. But after reiterating this point, Privy Council said, but the question still remains, priority in what respect? Does the priority of the federal legislature prevent the provincial legislature from dealing with any matter which may incidentally affect any item in its list? Or in each case, one has to consider what the substance of the act is and whatever its auxiliary effect or attribute is, and to which appropriate list its true character belongs. In view of the lordship's opinion of the latter is the true view. तो basically true view क्या है? True view ये है कि ये पता करें कि main substance क्या है और क्या ancillary encroachment हो रहा है. अगर ये पाया गया कि main substance can be traced to a state list या उस legislature की list में जिसके पास वो jurisdiction belong करता है, then incidental encroachment into the other list is not prohibited. ठीक है, वही पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस का रीइटरेशन है. A principle of pith and substance also find its support from the expression that has been used under article 246. ठीक है, तो बेसिकली प्राइवी काउंसिल ने क्या बोला एक्ट को लेके? प्राइवी काउंसिल ने बोला that the impugned act was not void either in whole or part because the Bengal Money Lender Act is valid because it deals in pith and substance with the money lending, and not because the legislation in respect of promissory notes by the federal legislature is confined to the legislation affecting their negotiability. तो basically in other words, simple words में ये बोला प्राइवी काउंसिल ने कि मनी लेंडर्स एक्ट बाय बंगाल लेजिस्लेचर इज वैलिड. वाई? क्योंकि जो इंक्रोचमेंट है वो इंसिडेंटल है और पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस में जो लॉ है वो स्टेट लिस्ट में ही फॉल करता है. ठीक है, हम नेक्स्ट केस पे आ जाते हैं. वो है स्टेट ऑफ राजस्थान वर्सेस जी चावला, AIR 1959 सुप्रीम कोर्ट केसेस, नो नॉट सुप्रीम कोर्ट केसेस, सुप्रीम कोर्ट, पेज नंबर 544. In this case, the state legislature made a law, that is Ajmer Sound Amplifiers Control Act 1952, restricting the use of sound amplifiers. The respondent had violated the act and was prosecuted under it. The state's contention was that the law is within its competence since it fell under entry 6 list 2, that is public health and sanitation. There was another entry in the list 2, that is public order. The respondent contended that the impugned law fell within the union list, that is entry 1, sorry, that is list 1, entry 31, that is telephones, wireless, broadcasting and other forms of communication. तो ये यूनियन का मैटर है, इस पे स्टेट एक्ट जो स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर है वो लॉ नहीं बना सकता. ये रिस्पोंडेंट का कहना था जो भाई साहब प्रोसिक्यूट हुए थे. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ऑब्जर्व किया that the legislature in India possess plenary powers of legislation subject to the condition that the legislation is confined to the topics mentioned in the various list. These entries, although are meant to be mutually exclusive, yet overlap on each other. In case of conflict, it becomes necessary to examine the pith and substance of the impugned law. There can be little doubt that growing nuisance of blaring loudspeakers powered by amplifiers of great output needed control, and the short question is whether this salutary measure can be said to fall within one or more entries in the state list. It must be admitted that amplifiers are instruments of broadcasting and even of communication, and in that view they fall within entry 31 of the union list. The manufacture or licensing of amplifiers or control of their ownership or possession, including regulating of their trade in such apparatus, is one matter, but the control of use of such apparatus, though legitimately owned and possessed, to the detriment of tranquility, health and comfort of others, is quite another. It cannot be said that public health does not demand control of the use of such apparatus by day or by night or in vicinity of the hospital, schools or offices or habitated localities. Supreme Court held that the law is in its pith and substance substantially within the state list, even though amplifier is an apparatus for communication, thus incidentally encroaching upon the union subject. The power to legislate in relation to public health includes the power to regulate the use of amplifiers as a producers of loud noises, when the right of such user by disregard of comfort and obligation to others emerges as a manifest nuisance to them. The end purpose of the legislation furnishes the key to connect it to the state list. Further, the Supreme Court said that the power to make laws with respect to a subject matter is a power to make laws which in reality and substance are laws upon that subject matter. It is not enough that the law should refer or apply to a subject matter. For example, income tax law applied to clergymen and hotel keepers as a member of public, but no one would describe an income tax law being with respect to clergymen or hotel keepers. तो बेसिकली सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इस केस में यही बोला कि ये जो लॉ है, जो अजमेर साउंड एम्पलीफायर्स कंट्रोल एक्ट 1952 है, विच रिस्ट्रिक्टेड द यूज ऑफ साउंड एम्पलीफायर्स, इवन दो ब्रॉडकास्टिंग से रिलेट करता है तो उस सेंस में वो यूनियन लिस्ट के मैटर में जाएगा, लेकिन पब्लिक हेल्थ और सैनिटेशन और पब्लिक ऑर्डर जो यूज है उस एम्पलीफायर का वो स्टेट लिस्ट के मैटर में जाएगा. ठीक है, तो इवन दो इंसिडेंटल इंक्रोचमेंट हो रहा है, येट बाय पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस रूल इट हैज बीन क्योर्ड. Let me reiterate the entire points in a nutshell. The pith and substance of the Impugned State Act is to control the use of amplifiers in the interest of health and also tranquility, and thus falls substantially, if not wholly, within the powers conferred to preserve, regulate, and promote them, and does not fall within the entry in the union list, even though the amplifier, the use of which is regulated and controlled, is an apparatus for broadcasting and communication, which is a union subject. तो आपको ये पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस का रूल अब तक थोड़ा बहुत समझ में आना चाहिए कि बेसिकली इट हेल्प्स टू हार्मोनाइज द कन्फ्लिक्टिंग और ओवरलैपिंग ऑफ एंट्रीज. ठीक है, क्योंकि अगर ये रूल ना होता तो पता नहीं कितने लॉज जो होते वो स्ट्रक डाउन हो जाते. ठीक है, फिर एक और केस बताता हूँ. इसमें बहुत केस हैं पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस में, बिकॉज इट इज़ अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग डॉक्ट्रिन, और इसी पे सबसे ज़्यादा आपको सवाल भी पूछा जाएगा. तो याद रखिएगा, एक और केस बताता हूँ. स्टेट ऑफ बॉम्बे वर्सेस FN बलसारा, AIR 1951, सुप्रीम कोर्ट, पेज नंबर 318. In this case, the Bombay Prohibition Act, which prohibited the sale and possession of liquors in the state, was challenged on the ground that it has encroached upon import and export of liquors across custom frontier, which was a central subject. It was contended that the prohibition on purchase, use, possession and sale of liquor, which was a state subject, will affect the import, which is a central subject. Supreme Court held that in pith and substance, the matter fell under state list, even though incidentally it encroaches upon the union list. Next case पे आते हैं. ये है स्टेट ऑफ कर्नाटका वर्सेस ड्राइव इन इंटरप्राइजेस, AIR 2001, सुप्रीम कोर्ट, पेज नंबर 1328. ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग केस है. इसमें क्या हुआ था? इन दिस केस द लेवी ऑफ टैक्स इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ ड्राइव इन सिनेमा was an issue. A drive-in cinema means a cinema with an open-air theatre premises into which admission may be given normally to the persons desiring to view the cinema while sitting in motor cars. The state, in addition to charging entertainment tax on person being entertained, levied entertainment tax on admission of cars inside the theatre. The question arose whether the state legislature was competent to enact a law to levy tax under entry 62 list 2 of the 7th schedule on admission of cars, motor vehicles inside the theatre. Entry 62 empowers the state legislature to levy tax on luxury, entertainment, amusement, betting and gambling. Now, the counsel for the appellant urged that in pith and substance, the levy is on the person entertained and not on the admission of cars or motor vehicles inside the drive-in theatre. It was also urged that the state legislature is fully competent to impose such a levy. Learned counsel for the respondent, that is Drive-In Enterprises, inter alia, urged and argued that the admission of cars, motor vehicles into the drive-in theatre is incidental and the part of concept of drive-in theatre, that the film that is shown in drive-in theatre is like any other film shown in the cinema houses, and that the state legislature is not competent to levy entertainment tax on admission of motor vehicles inside the drive-in theatre. It was argued that the incidence of tax being on the entertainment, the state legislature is competent to enact law imposing tax only on persons entertained. In a nutshell, the argument is that the state legislature can levy entertainment tax on human beings and not on inanimate objects. Since the vehicle is not a person entertained, the state legislature is not competent to enact a law to levy entertainment tax on the admission of cars, motor vehicles inside the drive-in theatre. Now, the Supreme Court held that what is to be found is the real nature of the levy in its pith and substance, and it is in this light the competency of the state legislature is to be adjudged. The doctrine of pith and substance means that if an enactment substantially falls within the powers expressly conferred by the Constitution upon the legislature, it cannot be held to be ultra vires merely because its nomenclature shows that its encroachment upon the matters assigned to another heading of legislature. अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने गुडईयर इंडिया लिमिटेड वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ हरियाणा को भी जजमेंट को भी कोट किया, जिसमें ये हेल्ड हुआ था that the nomenclature of the act is not conclusive, and for determining the true character and nature of the particular levy with reference to the legislative competence of the legislature, the court will look into the pith and substance of the legislation. In the present case, the real nature and the character of the impugned levy is not the admission of cars or motor vehicles, but the levy is on the persons entertained who takes the car inside the theatre and watches the film sitting on his car. It cannot be disputed that the car or motor vehicle does not go inside the drive-in theatre on its own. It is driven inside the theatre by the person entertained. This further shows that the person entertained carries his car inside the drive-in theatre in order to have a better quality of entertainment. The quality of entertainment also depends on with what comfort the quality of entertainment obtained by I'll reiterate. The quality of entertainment also depends on with what comfort the person entertained has viewed the cinema films. Thus, the quality of entertainment obtained by the person sitting in his car would be different from a squatter viewing the film show. The levy on the entertainment varies with the quality of comfort with which a person enjoys the entertainment inside the drive-in theatre. In the present case, a person sitting in his car has the luxury of viewing the cinema films in auditorium. It is the variation in the comfort offered to the person entertained for which the state government has levied entertainment tax on the person entertained. Thus, in pith and substance, the levy is on the person who is entertained, and it is wholly immaterial in what name and form it is imposed. Whatever be the nomenclature of the levy, in substance, the levy under the heading admission of vehicle is a levy on the entertainment and not on admission of vehicle inside the drive-in theatre. The word entertainment is wide enough to comprehend in the luxury or comfort with which a person entertains himself. Once it is found that there is a nexus between the legislative competence and the subject of taxation, the levy is justified and valid. अब कुछ और केसेस से डील कर लेते हैं. आई होप ये केस समझ में आ गया होगा. नहीं आया तो मैं नटशेल में आपको बता देता हूँ. देखिए, स्टेट ऑफ कर्नाटका से ड्राइव इन एंटरप्राइजेस का क्रक्स इतना सा है कि इट इज़ नॉट द नोमेनक्लेचर ऑफ द लेवी विच इज डिसाइसिव टू द मैटर, बट द रियल नेचर एंड कैरेक्टर फॉर डिटरमाइनिंग competency of the power of legislature to enact a law imposing the levy, which is the true determinant. मतलब pith and substance is a true determinant. The real nature and character of the impugned levy is not on the admission of the cars or motor vehicles in this case, but the levy is on the person entertained who takes the car inside the theatre and watches the film while sitting in the car. तो यहाँ पे स्टेट का जो एंटरटेनमेंट टैक्स था वो जस्टिफाइड भी था और वैलिड भी था. नेक्स्ट 2 और केस डील कर लेते हैं. ये है आपका स्टेट ऑफ राजस्थान वर्सेस वतन मेडिकल एंड जनरल स्टोर, AIR 2001, Supreme Court, page number 1937. Now it was held that once the impugned enactment is within the 4 corners of the entries in the list 2, no central law, whether made with respect to an entry in the list 1 or list 3, can affect the validity of such state enactment. The argument of occupied field is totally out of place in such a context. That was held by the Supreme Court. The said argument proceeds upon a wrong premises that once a field is covered by the central legislation referable to the list 1, the power of the state government to legislate in that field covered by an entry in list 2 is taken away without dealing with the doctrine of pith and substance, and by ignoring the well settled position of law, the doctrine of covered field has to be applied only to the entries in list 3. The court further held that once an enactment in pith and substance is relatable to an entry in list 2, or for that matter any other entry in the list 2, article 246 cannot be brought into hold that state legislature is not competent to enact a law. ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा था स्टेट ऑफ राजस्थान वर्सेस वतन मेडिकल एंड जनरल स्टोर में. सिमिलरली इन द केस ऑफ स्टेट ऑफ आंध्र प्रदेश वर्सेस के पुरुषोत्तम रेड्डी में 2003 वॉल्यूम नंबर 9 सुप्रीम कोर्ट केसेस पेज नंबर 564 में it was held that only when the state legislation cannot coexist with the central legislation, then the former may be declared ultra vires. The court should so construe the statute as to uphold its constitutionality. The entries in the schedule 7 should be interpreted in a broad manner on a conjoint reading of entry 66 of list 1 and entry 25 of the list 3. It is clear that although the state has a wide legislative field to cover, the same is subject to the entry 66 and 63 of the list 1. Once it is found that the state legislation does not entrench upon the legislative field set apart by the list 1, the state act cannot be invalidated. इस केस में क्या हुआ था? Andhra Pradesh State Council of Higher Education Act set up a state council for higher education. The duties and function of the council were compartmentalized and it had to act in accordance with the guidelines issued by central UGC. It had to assist UGC in respect of determination and maintenance of the standard and suggest remedial measures for higher education in the state. It had no power, according to the Supreme Court, to act in the sphere of coordination and determination of standards of institution of higher education and research and technical institution as an independent body. The State Act does not encroach upon the central field and it is within the legislative competence of the state legislature. The Act is also held to be not a colorable piece of legislation. अब ये तो प्राइमरली हो गया. इसमें मेन केस याद रखिएगा. मेन केस हमने जितने भी इससे डील किए हैं इसमें मेन वाला वही है आपका, क्या नाम है उसका, प्रफुल्ल कुमार वर्सेस बैंक ऑफ कॉमर्स खुलना. अब हम आ जाते हैं डिस्टिंक्शन बिटवीन डॉक्ट्रिन्स ऑफ हार्मोनियस कंस्ट्रक्शन एंड पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस. क्या है डिस्टिंक्शन? 4 मेन डिफरेंसेस है, ध्यान रखिएगा. पहला, both the doctrine of pith and substance and doctrine of harmonious construction are used for the interpretation of entries in the 3 list of the 7th schedule. There need not be a law made by parliament under an entry. Both doctrines would apply regardless. ठीक है. Second, when a subject is apparently covered in both union and state list, the rule of harmonious construction is applied. When a law dealing with a subject is in one list touching upon a subject in another list, the rule of pith and substance is applied. फिर reiterate कर रहा हूँ, when a subject is apparently covered in both union and state list, the rule of harmonious construction is applied to avoid the conflict. But when a law dealing with a subject in one list touches upon a subject in another list, the rule of pith and substance is applied. Third is that the purpose of harmonious construction is to prevent or to avoid inconsistency or apparent conflict between the two lists and give effect to the meaning of both entries. Entries of the two lists must be read together and the language of one interpreted and when necessary modified by that of other. The purpose of pith and substance rule is to avoid apparent conflict between the two lists, but the method adopted by it is different. If the laws are in substance upon a matter assigned to a legislature, then notwithstanding incidental encroachment upon the entry reserved for another legislature, it would be upheld as valid. Fourth difference is that both the doctrines, though distinct, are similar in action, as they prevent many state laws from being declared invalid, which would have been result if non-obstante clause in Article 246 was used unmitigated by these principles. It may be noted that if reconciliation between the entries of union and state list is not possible, then in view of Article 246, union list would prevail over the state list. देखिए जो डॉक्ट्रिन्स है ना बहुत सारे लेजिस्लेशंस को बचाती हैं. अगर ये डॉक्ट्रिन्स ना यूज़ हो तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट अंधाधुंध तरीके से आर्टिकल 246 का नॉट ऑब्स्टेंडिंग नॉन ऑब्स्टेंटिंग क्लॉज यूज़ करके ना हर लेजिस्लेशन को इनवैलिड करार दे देगा. उसने जरा सा भी इंक्रोचमेंट पा लिया. तो याद रखिएगा हार्मोनियस कंस्ट्रक्शन पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस दोनों ही इंटरप्रिटेशन के लिए यूज़ होती हैं, बट देयर इज़ अ सब्सटेंशियल डिफरेंस बिटवीन देम. एक तो डिफरेंस उनके यूज़ में ही है. ठीक है, ये मैंने आपको डिफरेंसेस बता दिए. सो आई थिंक वी आर प्राइमरली डन विथ पिथ एंड सब्सटेंस. ठीक है, तो इस रूल पे थोड़ा ध्यान दीजिएगा. ना समझ में आए तो मुझसे पूछ लीजिएगा. और आई डोंट थिंक ऐसी सिचुएशन आनी चाहिए कि आपको कुछ ना समझ में आए, बिकॉज इट्स फेयरली सिंपल. ठीक है, so that is it for today. I will see you in the next lecture.